Hello everybody, how are you? Welcome to American Defender. Like I've always said, 40 Smith & Wesson is, was, and always will be better than 9mm. So if you're not familiar with them, I know I've done this before, here I am again. Alright? There is a 40 Smith & Wesson. This is actually a round of Winchester Ranger 155 grain. Okay, there it is right there. That is a 40 Smith & Wesson. And this is a Sig Sauer Elite 124 grain plus P right here. So there's the 40. I'm going to hold them even to each other. 40 versus 9. And if you'll notice, there's more brass in a 40 Smith & Wesson. The overall length is the same, but there's more capacity and there's more brass sitting here than there is right here. This is a high pressure cartridge, 35,000 psi to be exact. This is not. Okay, Sammy spec. It's not. It is now, being that this is a plus P round. Okay. What are the energy differences between these two? Okay, in testing, 4-inch barrel, both times, okay, conventional rifling. This 124 grain out of a CZ-P01 Omega, 4-inch barrel, 1175 feet per second, which gives you roughly about 370 foot-pounds of energy. This 155 grain Winchester Ranger right here, out of the Beretta PX4, 4-inch barrel, full size, 517 foot-pounds of energy. All right, this thing was cooking along at the exact same speed. So, what does this all mean? It means 40 hits harder. Typically 40 with a 155 to 180 grain projectile gives you 400 to 500 foot-pounds of energy. It can go way higher than that. 9mm typically 300 to 400. It can go about 100 higher than that with plus P plus rounds. That's it. And your gun can't eat a healthy diet of those. Your 40 Smith & Wesson Standard, though, can eat all of these all day long, and it ain't gonna bother a thing, especially with modern guns like the Beretta PX4 Storm that were developed around the 40 Smith & Wesson. Alright, so, heavier bullet, more momentum, more knockdown power. Knockdown power is a very real thing. Very real thing. Foot-pounds of energy matters. If it didn't matter and it was all about shot placement, then a BB gun would do the job. Okay? You could walk up to somebody with your finger and go, and that would take care of business. All right, so all these people that say shot placement is king, that shot placement, while it is critical, it's not critical alone. There has to be energy behind it. And in a high-stress situation, guess what? That shot placement sometimes isn't achieved. So that's when the knockdown power or the energy level being higher comes into effect, because then you have more destructive tissue, we have a heavier projectile, we have a larger projectile, it's going to expand further, and it's going to punch through harder, jarring everything around it a little bit more. All right? So there's your stopping power. The 40 Smith & Wesson wins again. Its history, the 9mm, really, in all honesty, in its dimensions, hasn't changed. Not since the 1800s. It hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is the addition of a hollow point. The hollow point, the way it works, because they've had to play with that for 30 years to get that right. And they've added some different grain weights to it, and that's it. 40 Smith & Wesson was a brand new cartridge in 1990. It was designed right from the get-go for duty and self-defense. It was and still is the premier self-defense cartridge. Okay. Remember, the 40 Smith & Wesson was derived from the 10 millimeter because the FBI wanted a round that was 180 grains doing 1,000 feet per second. They wanted that. That's what they were running in their 10 millimeter 1056s that they had. But they wanted smaller, lighter weight guns. They wanted a little more capacity. They wanted it to be a double stack, and so on and so forth. So Smith & Wesson with their 40-56 and Winchester came along and said, we can definitely give that to you. And there it was. Okay, 40 Smith & Wesson. And it was ultimately created because of a failure from a 9mm to do its job in the line of duty in 1986 at the Miami-Dade shooting. We all know about that shot that went through the guy's arm, went through his chest, missed the heart, and after that shot happened, he continued on and ended up killing 2 FBI agents. That's why this was created, right here. This was the fail-safe. Okay. I know someone's going to come up and go, yeah, well, 9mm, the FBI switched back to it. Don't you realize that? I was there when they announced it. In fact, I was watching the announcement from the FBI on post when it happened. Okay, so, and as actually I was carrying one of these in my, at the time I had a Smith & Wesson Sigma on me, because that's what I was carrying at the time. That's what the company would deal out to us, okay? And everybody in the office at that time went, what the, why, And their alleged reasoning was because of performance of the 9mm had improved. Well, guess what happened? 40 improved too at the same time. You want to know the truth? You want to know the real truth? Why they switched to 9mm? It's got more to do with money, corruption, and a plan of an evil man by the name of Barack Hussein Obama. That's why they switched. Remember who was in power when this happened. I remember when it happened. All right, I remember it. We had James Comey over the FBI, the most corrupt FBI the United States has ever seen. We had Barack Obama, one of the most anti-gun, most corrupt, bomb-happy presidents we've ever seen. We were spending money at that point in time in this country left and right, and we had to find a way to save some money. And so the FBI switched to 9mm and gave everybody this lame brain excuse of, well, powders and yada-da-da-da have changed and gotten better. And they made it seem like it only happened with 9mm, and we all know better. 9mm got better. 40 Smith & Wesson got better and more effective. 45 ACP did. Hell, even 380 ACP. Really, of all the rounds that benefited from this improvement in powder technology, bullet technology, it wasn't the 9mm. It was the 380 ACP. That's the one that really changed. Because prior to all of this, going back 20 years, a lot of people that carried 380 ACP were carrying full metal jackets, because at the point in time, things like the Winchester, what do they call those? The Winchester silver bullets or whatever. They were expanding great, but you were only getting like 5.5, 6 inches of penetration with them. All right, you weren't getting good penetration with the 380 ACP. The penetration is key. Okay, so really, what it comes down to, why 9mm is pushed, getting back on track, is it's cheaper to make, and it's also easier for beginners to shoot because of that reduced energy. Okay. So, that right there, if it's easier for new recruits to shoot, and it's cheaper to make, that let the FBI and Obama meet their budgets. That also meant that the public, seeing that, and those people that follow these trends and basically monkey see, monkey do with the FBI, you in a way got disarmed and don't even realize it. You just went for the status quo and became part of it. I hate to tell you that, but it's the truth. So 9mm again is pushed because it's cheaper, higher profits. It's promoted heavily by influencers. Think about YouTube and Rumble and all that, all right? And sponsors, because it makes everybody more money. It makes you more money, and it's cheaper to use. Because really, in all honesty, 9mm is a mass market caliber, not the best caliber. Let's get into some more real world use here. Okay. So let me just give you a few examples of various different departments that in 2025 are still using 40 Smith & Wesson. Texas DPS is using the SIG 320 in 40 Smith & Wesson. NYPD, New York State Police Department, Glock 22, 40 Smith & Wesson. Many other local departments are still using 40 Smith & Wesson. Air Marshals use the 357 SIG, which is based on the 40 Smith & Wesson case. All right. If it was dead, they wouldn't still be using it. Remember, not everything is perfect shot placement, like I said before. You have to have energy. 40 Smith & Wesson is better on barriers than 9mm because you have a heavier bullet, getting back into that knockdown power. Okay? It's better statistically. It's better at neutralizing drug-influenced criminals or attackers than 9mm is today. That is a statistic that I pulled up about 10 minutes ago that was given by the FBI last year, 2024. It was found that 40 Smith & Wesson was more effective on those types of people. And being that I live in Arizona, guess what? There's a lot of them running around on the street these days, thanks to our neighbors to the south. Okay? So that's something I personally have to worry about a lot. All right? Is 9mm effective? Yes, but I don't want to have to use the entire magazine to do what I need to do. Is it cheaper? Yes. But so is plywood, and I don't want to have to rely on plywood for armor. If 40 Smith & Wesson was dead, even the FBI today is still using this, and if it was dead, they wouldn't use it. So there's my points on the 40 Smith & Wesson. There's the truth on it. If that offends you, you might want to ask yourself why. Why does the truth offend you? Because that's all I've presented to you today is cold, hard facts. Truth, logic, reason. That's all I've done today. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. I welcome your comments. Would you please consider liking this video and sharing this video, and hey, subscribe too. With that, I'm going to get on out of here. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and we'll see y'all later. Bye now.